Hello, my name is Crystal Puentes, and this week's Ethics Corner asked us to read the article, The Benefits and Barriers to RFID Technology in Healthcare, and then to discuss legal and ethical considerations, benefits, barriers for the utilization of radio frequency identification in patient-centered care. So I actually didn't know a lot about this, so I did learn quite a bit reading about this. I did read the article where it said the purpose was to explore the benefits and barriers of it, which really the benefits were kind of like providing just mainly patient safety, being able to track items or people or their employees. And they also were able to gather a lot of information through the use of the RFID. So I didn't know this, but I was reading in our textbook for informatics on page 215. It actually said that they used it for a lot of other different things. Like, I didn't know this is what they used to track our pets. So they put those in pets as well. Tracking inventory. Let's see what else it said. Let's see. Oh, and passports as well. So I didn't know that. They used it for quite a amount of different things. They also tried to start putting it in humans to be able to kind of like identify them. So there was a person that they actually were able to put the chip in 2004. They put a chip in William. He was a policeman, so he got it put in, and then 2 years after he had it placed, he got in a car accident, was taken to the emergency room. Of course, he was probably unconscious or not able to communicate, and they were able to identify him using the chip. So, and they were able to pull up his medical records and everything, so that's pretty neat. The only thing is where this kind of became more of a legal or ethical issue was that people were concerned that at some point would the government try to make the chips mandatory in people, which would be kind of like really invasive and also like a breach of our privacy. So that's actually where it kind of just put a halt on chipping humans. So that was definitely a legal and ethical issue there. But as far as more on the healthcare side, they were using the RFID technology to kind of like trace the patients, trace employees to see, how often was a nurse in the room with that patient. It would check patient waiting times, the material arriving to the hospital. They were tracking that, tracking medicine, tracking even blood transfusions. So they were able to put the chip on the blood transfusions, and they could see the exact time that the transfusion or the blood was being picked up, where it's being taken to what patient it was being given, and what was the time of the actual administration and the finishing of the blood product, and then the temperature of it. So they were actually able to really track a lot of things with it. They give a lot of useful information on it, which the whole purpose of that, of course, was patient safety. It's very dangerous when you're giving blood products to the wrong patient. So that was a good way that they were using that. They were able to track patients' waiting time, so that that goes a long way with patient satisfaction, seeing how long they're waiting, seeing if they're in the correct room, getting the correct procedures and all that. So it definitely is a real, I think, huge step in healthcare when it comes to that. Just the issue really is kind of the invasion of privacy if they were to take it further and chipping humans. I do think that is a bit much. Maybe if they left that pretty optional. And then the other thing that this article was talking about, As far as like a barrier too is like how accurate is this, things fail, and they could have system errors. So in that case, that could actually cause a lot more issues if it's, malfunctioning. And then another issue was the cost as well, to be able to chip and tag every single patient and worker and product. It could cost quite a bit. So not really that, cost effective when it comes to that. And it said like the limitations on it as well, like the errors and stuff. So they have implemented it, but not, I think, as fully as they probably would have wished they could have utilized this technology. Maybe in the future they'll be able to kind of be able to implement it a little bit more and tweak it a bit, to be able to actually really, be useful, and then find a way for it not to like interfere, since it's like radio frequencies, for it not to interfere with other radio frequencies that they need. It could cause errors as well, as I was talking earlier. And then if they can find a way to make it, not as costly. Hospitals are always trying to find a way to, save money like any other place or business. So it is kind of difficult when you're taking that into consideration. Another legal thing about this is, it does track how, they were tracking how often nurses are in a room with the patient. When things go wrong, they're able to say like, hey, like the timing of this was kind of suspicious, or it could also, prove negligence as well. Like if a nurse wasn't checking up on their patient, so it could actually cause, proof for like legal cases, when it comes to that, because, they were keeping track of that. And of course, it's like the nurse's responsibility to be checking up on their patients. And if something goes wrong, they're able to prove like, hey, and on top of that, they have cameras already to begin with. So they have the cameras and they have the tracking system. So, if they're able to put like, hey, timing, nurse wasn't there for a set amount of time, it could definitely be a legal issue, or it could also protect the nurse, especially patients are being like, oh, my nurse hasn't been here in like 4 hours, and really the nurse has been checking on them like every 30 minutes. It's another way of like proving things as well. So it does has its kind of ups and downs on the legal aspect of it. Overall, this was a really good topic, because I guess it wasn't really that. I knew it was around, but I didn't know what the term or the name of it was. So, and I didn't realize it was used in other things, like the chips and pets and all that. I didn't know they were actually chipping humans either. So that was kind of an interesting to learn about. So this was a pretty good, informative article. And thank you for listening.